Chileans are just very friendly in general. They are very generous with their food. They're very generous with most things actually. We never had anywhere where we were just going hungry. We would eat lunch with the members every day. But they would always just give us so much food. Sometimes we just wanted to burst. But we'd eat it all because they know how to cook. Like, it's delicious. There are some dishes that, they'll just marinate with mayonnaise or something like that. But most of their cooking is very good. So, yeah, the Chilean culture is just very, very warm, very loving. They're very affectionate people. It was common to see families that would like cuddle with each other on the couch while we were talking to them. They would like. There's one family in particular that I remember because the son, while we would teach the family, he would be sitting next to his dad with his arm around his head, and he would be playing with his ear the entire time. And like my companion and I would always giggle about it, but we're like, okay, whatever. At least he's listening. And I remember that family especially because the dad was really hesitant to listen to the lessons. The rest of his family was just gung-ho about it. They loved reading the Book of Mormon with us. And they came to church faithfully, and he would come to church occasionally with us. And then one day there was just this shift in his being. Like, we came over and we just knew there was something different. And we talked, we gave him a lesson. I actually have no idea what that lesson was that night. But when we invited him to come to church that Sunday, he's like, yeah, Elder, I'll be there. And it was a really enthusiastic, I'll be there. And we were like, wow, something has changed about you. And then the next couple of weeks, like, it just went so smoothly. And we were talking with him one night about it, and he's just like, I don't know, I felt something different one day. I don't know what it was. Like, after you left one night and then came back the next day, I just felt that I needed to do something different. And so that's why the next couple of weeks went so smoothly, and then he got baptized soon after that. And it was a great experience because his brother-in-law was able to baptize him. His brother-in-law was the branch president. And it was just such a loving baptism. They were all there, and everybody was just giving hugs all around. And that's just one example of like how affectionate Chilean people are. Just hugs all the time. And just so much love. And families usually stay together. Like, I can't say this is normal for Americans, but what I hear about a lot is Americans, we'll move away from home and we'll start our own family. But the majority of Chileans will stay with their family and raise their kids with their grandparents. And they'll either live in the same house or a house like right next door. And they just stay together. It's so awesome to see, because then we'll just get these big families and there's just so much love that goes around. And so sometimes it made it really easy to talk to families about being sealed eternally, which was something that was really appealing to most mothers. And that was usually what caught the attention of fathers as well. There are some fathers that would get on our case about teaching the restoration. We would talk to them about the Book of Mormon, about Joseph Smith being a prophet. And then as soon as we talked about how the priesthood being restored will help them be an eternal family, their demeanor would just change. They'd be like, wait, what? I can be with my family forever. Okay, like, this isn't so bad. And, before they got baptized, we would usually knock heads again about, like, the restoration. We would challenge them to pray about it. But it was that fact of families can be eternal that usually, like, stayed in their minds, just weighed on them to make it, and persuaded them to accept our invitations to read and to pray and to come to church. That's the Chilean culture, is just very family oriented. Unfortunately, this will sound very racist or stereotypical of me. Chileans have a tendency to be lazy. The fact that church started at 10 a.m., we heard a lot, like, oh, 10 a.m., that's so early. And we would just look at them and be like, do you not get up on Sundays? Do you just sleep all day? So it was kind of hard for people to accept our invitations to do things. The phrase we heard most often was, si Dios quiere, if God willing. And it was a joke among the missionaries. We would just be like, God is willing. God wants this. Don't worry. And we would tell people that sometimes. Like, no, elders, that's just a phrase. And we're like, we know it's a phrase. God wants this. I promise you. And so it was hard to get people to read the Book of Mormon, which was really frustrating for me because that was a good portion of the reason I was out serving a mission. I would tell people about the Book of Mormon, and they'd be like, oh, okay, this sounds cool. And then they wouldn't read. We would come back the next day and be like, so what do you think of the chapter we told you to read? And he'd be like, oh, well, elders, I didn't read it. And I would just be like, dude, come on. Like, we'll read it with you. And so we would read it with them, and sometimes they would like really get into it, and other times they would just be like, oh, this is a good book, it's great, cool, and wouldn't do anything with it. But like I said, that was one of the harder aspects of Chilean culture, is that they tend to be more lazy than most Americans. So, but like I said, they're very loving, and it's great to work with them.